Hey you guys, it's Carolyn from Homesteading Family, and today I am going to show you how to make an amazing pumpkin spice leather out of actual pumpkin. We're actually going to start with a real pumpkin, and it's going to be so good. These are such healthy, delicious snacks. You're just going to love having them. All right, so do you love pumpkin spice? Pumpkin spice is just such a great thing, and this is a wonderful thing to do if you have extra pumpkins laying around, maybe some extra pumpkin puree that you didn't use in your holiday baking. I absolutely love this. Your kids will love it in their lunch boxes, and you'll feel really good about feeding it to them because it's a really healthy and a great way to get them to eat that great pumpkin. So we're going to start off with 2 cups of our fresh pumpkin puree. Now, if you don't know how to get to this point with your pumpkins, go back and watch my video on properly cured pumpkins where I step you through that. So it's really easy to get here, just takes a few minutes of work and about 30 minutes maybe of oven time. So we have 2 cups of our pumpkin puree. Now, I'm going to add to that ½ a cup of maple syrup. Now you could use honey, you could use sugar if you prefer, but just ½ a cup here. If you are working with a really sweet pumpkin, and yes, you probably want to taste your pumpkin puree, then you won't have to add as much. You can get away with less of the sweetener. Okay, stir that up. All right, and about a teaspoon of pumpkin spice mix, whatever your favorite mixture is, about a teaspoon of it. I love my pumpkin spice really spicy, so this is actually like 2 teaspoons for me. It's my favorite. Okay, that's what you got. That's all it takes to make this. Now, if you wanted to be really fancy, you could add a little bit of applesauce to this. You could decrease the amount of pumpkin puree and add a little applesauce. That can make it hold together a little bit better in the end. It can also decrease the amount of sweetener that you need. Okay, so just stir this up really, really well. Now you're gonna want a dehydrator for this. And many of you guys, if you've been following along, you know that I love my Excalibur dehydrator. It's one that I've used for years, and it's been a great dehydrator, but it is really big. It is pretty large. It takes up a lot of room. And so when this company, Sunglife, asked to send us one to try it out, I said, sure, I'd love to try one. It's much smaller, but I love that it has a thermostat on it and it has a timer on it, which means I can set it and walk away and forget it. And not have to worry about coming back and checking it because I might leave it on too long and end up with pumpkin crisps instead of pumpkin leather. So I really enjoyed this. I think it's a really nice machine. If you have a small space, you might want to look into it. I'll put a link in the description for it. Okay, so we have that really well mixed. Now we're going to want to take one of our dehydrator trays, and many dehydrators have the Teflon sheets for fruit leather. If you have one of those, that's great. If you don't, I don't have that for this machine yet, you can just use a little bit of parchment paper. Now, a lot of times you see fruit leathers or any sort of dehydrated leathers in nice long strips, and they're all rolled up all pretty in parchment paper. Oh, they look so pretty. I would love to do those, but honestly, as a mom, I just don't have the time for that kind of fuss, cutting out all those little strips of parchment paper. So what I like to do with leathers is I like to create leather cookies out of them, just like this. What that means is I don't have to roll them up. I can actually dust these with cinnamon to keep them from sticking to each other, and they can just kind of store in a canister or a bag. They go in lunches really easily, and they don't need all the fussy rolling. Okay, so to do that, all we have to do is take a couple spoons and just dollop this into little cookie shapes right onto our parchment paper. Now, I like to keep this a little bit thick because as that water does evaporate off in the dehydrator, it is going to thin out a little bit. Always when you're working with your dehydrator, think about where the airflow is. In this dehydrator, you can see that the air is going to come right up here through this hole in the center. That means you're gonna get the most airflow right here on this edge and then back down around this edge. What that means is you want to make whatever you're dehydrating a little bit thicker where the airflow is higher, because that's gonna dry out faster. So I just kind of scoot a little bit towards that side. So it's a little uneven, but what that means is it's gonna help it to dry out evenly. Okay, so you just wanna go through and fill up your dehydrator tray with these cookies, always trying to get them about the same size so they finish dehydrating at the same time. Now, what I love to do, this isn't necessary, totally optional, is just to take a little unsweetened coconut and just sprinkle it right on the top right now. I think it makes it really pretty and just adds a nice little touch and of course a great flavor here. Okay. Get that sprinkled on there. Okay, now we're just gonna put this into our dehydrator for at about 130 degrees. If you have a option on your temperature range, go for 130 degrees. If it's just an on or off, just turn it on and go. And you want to take this till it's all the way dry, but it's still leathery. Now remember, when you're working with dehydrated foods, you usually have to remove them from the dehydrator and let the food cool down a little before you can get a true reading on how done it actually is. That's because when it's warmer, it's naturally more pliable, a little more bendable. So take it out after, usually I start checking at about 10 hours for something like this. Check and see how done it looks. Take it out, let it come to room temperature for a few minutes, then check it again and make your determination on that. If you want these to store on a shelf or be shelf stable, not have to go in the refrigerator, it needs to have no moisture left to the touch. Okay, here are some that I have gotten done. And look at these guys, they are so good. Can you see these? They are super pumpkin spicy, delicious. They have no added refined sugar. I love that. No sugar in there. You can just decrease the amount of maple syrup. You could make these with a monk fruit. You could make them with a stevia if you're careful not to put too much stevia in. And certainly you could mix these with that applesauce. They're so good. Now, if you want these to store stacked well and you're afraid that they will stick together, just go ahead when you get them out, set them in a bowl with some cinnamon or some more pumpkin pie spice if it's not too clovey, and go ahead and dust it with that. That'll keep it from sticking to its neighbor. That is so good. Oh wow, that is really spicy. I hope you guys enjoy. Take care.